Hi guys, so I want to come and do some videos for you, and I think I'm going to start off with just where I'm at um, right now in life. So I did a video on my I did a video on my Facebook page, sort of just explaining what I've been going through over the last few months over the summer. And I wasn't able to upload that video to my YouTube page. So this video will be sharing that experience as much as possible. So this is going to be a story time. So bear with me and really just be here for the lessons and the messages that you get from watching this video. Okay, so back in May, so let's go back to May. Okay, so back in May, I was looking for work because obviously, as you know, it's been a really hard year for a lot of us. I am someone who is a creator and a business owner, an entrepreneur. And obviously, it has been really difficult for me this year to really make the kind of money that I want to be making online. So I needed to get work in order to provide for myself and maintain the standard of life that I am accustomed to. So as an entrepreneur, you tend to, go back and forth between working part-time or full-time and doing your business on the side while you are trying to provide for yourself or for your family. So I'm single, I'm not married, and I don't have any children. So it's just me taking care of my life. So I found a job back in May, and I didn't start till June. So I was working a part-time job in June of this year. And it was the most stressful experience that I was going through, even though I really enjoyed the work that I was doing. And so during that time, I was focused on working, focused on trying to really be a good employee for this company. And for some reason, they really didn't take too well with my personality. Um, and they chose to let me go. And I was only there for about a month. But before that happened, I was living in my apartment. As you can see, I'm in a different space. This is not my apartment, but it is my current living situation. So yeah, so while I was at my previous job, I received a letter of termination from my landlord to vacate the apartment that I was renting because he wanted to use it for his office or whatever. But that's not what he ended up using it for. He ended up re-renting the same unit back out to the public. So we are not, or we were, I didn't know at the time, but I guess he didn't want me as a tenant, and I guess we were not on good terms because I found out through while looking for other apartments, literally like 2 or 3 days ago, that he is renting out the apartment he vacated me out of. And he told me something different. So I found out at that time, back in June, when I just started working and I was in the middle of getting used to this new job, that my landlord wanted me to leave where I was staying. So while trying to, get established in this new job, I had to start looking for a place to live, because I had no other options available to stay. So I start looking for places, and everything that I'm looking at doesn't fit my criteria for what I needed to feel comfortable and to feel like it was a good place for me to move to. So I had 3 requirements for the next place that I wanted to live at. One, I didn't want to rent with a landlord. I wanted to rent with a property management company. 2, it needed to be close to my new job because I use public transportation and I wanted to be able to get to my work within 30 minutes of time. And then 3, it just needed to feel safe, and it needed to include utilities because I did not want to go out of pocket to pay utilities as well as rent, because you can find places like that here in Phoenix. So I really didn't have a whole lot of time, and I really didn't have a whole lot of money to find what it is that was centrally located to where I was already living. And so during this time, I was constantly praying to God. I was constantly asking for guidance, and I was constantly just doing my best to state what it is that I needed from God to help me get to where I wanted to be, because I didn't have the time to look at a ton of places, and I didn't really know Phoenix and the area that well. And I had a particular budget that I was sticking to. So 2 weeks go by, I don't find anything. 3rd week of looking arrives, and I'm like, I gotta step this up. I feel this urge or this push to really step up looking and to increase my budget for where I was looking. So I increased my budget and I put that into a platform, and the platform shows me like a ton of, not a ton, it didn't show me a ton, it showed me like 2 or 3 places. And I already had looked at one of those places and it was not for me. As a matter of fact, I went to go see one of the places that was listed already. And when I was there was just a strong feeling that that place was not the place that I was supposed to rent an apartment with. So I found something and it fit my criterias, it fit my budget, if it fit one thing that um, that I was okay settling on with, if that makes sense, which was the utilities. So basically the utilities were going to be, I would have had to pay half the utility and they would have covered the other half of utilities. So I wasn't paying the utilities outright. I would have paid a portion of what my monthly utilities were supposed to be. So I'm like, okay, this seems like a great place. I made an appointment to go check out the place. And I get there, and this is the next day. So I get there, and the guy that I spoke to, he's kind of like, I don't remember talking to you. I don't know who you are. And I'm like, okay, even though, and I thought that was kind of funny because I'm like, yeah, you did talk to me because I know your voice, but I'm not going to make an issue out of it because I just don't care. I just want to know if there's a place available, even though I already had gotten confirmation the day before. And that's how I made an appointment to come see a unit the next day. So I had gotten confirmation the day before because I called them and I checked to see if they had any units available because I was looking for a studio apartment. And then they said, yes, they have a studio apartment available for a specific time frame that I wanted to move out. So I needed to move out of my place by July 31st. Said I was looking for a place by July 31st. And at this time, it was like July 20 something, 25th or July. It was literally like 5 days, a week, for me to find a place and sign a lease and move to that new place. So the person I was speaking to confirmed that, yeah, we have a place. And I said, great, I would love to come see it. And he's like, we are going to be more available tomorrow. So I made an appointment to go see this place the next day. Get there, the same guy who talked to me on the phone is now telling me he doesn't remember talking to me. It wasn't him that I spoke to, even though I know it was because I know what he sounded like. And there were only two men. One was gay and had a very feminine presentation of himself, and the guy that I did speak to, was very masculine and obviously presented very masculine. So anyway, so I could just distinct, I know my gut intuition does not lie, and it's just common sense. You can pinpoint people's voices to their attributes. And there was only two men at this small leasing office, and one sounded like a Black male, even though he wasn't Black, and the other one sounded like a very feminine presenting male. So I knew who I was talking to. I knew who had the phone conversation with me the day before, and I know it was him. But for some reason, he didn't want to admit that it was him that spoke to me. So anyway, he's saying that he's not sure if they have any more availability. He's not sure if there's any more units left. And I'm just like, are you serious? I just made an appointment yesterday based on the information that you had units available that I could come view. And so he's like, let me go check. And so that's what I'm thinking, but he's telling me, let me go check and see if we have any more units available, which I already thought was fishy off the cuff, because how do you not know if you have any more units available that you would need to go check to see if you have any units? And this place wasn't that big. It's only a 200 apartment property place. I don't even know what to say. But basically, he came back and was like, okay, we have one more unit left and it's on the 3rd floor. And if you want, you can apply for it. And then I was like, okay, but I would like to see what this unit looks like before I apply for it. And he goes, well, we can't let you see it because we're doing remodeling, or we have to remodel it and we have to fix it up. But it'll be ready by the time that you want to move in. And I had told him I wanted to move in July 31st. And at this time, it's like July 23rd or something like that. Let's say July 23rd by this time. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't have time to look at any other places. I don't have time to, I didn't want to walk away from the potential of getting a place to live and not having to look at any place else. So I said, okay. So he's like, if this is the only unit we have left. And I'm like, do you have a model unit? And he was like, we don't really have a model unit available, but I can show you what our units look like online. And so I'm like, okay. So he shows me what it looks like online. I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. And they're remodeling it. So there's not much that I have to complain about. Little to my knowledge, there was so much wrong with the apartment that I signed a lease for without looking at the apartment before signing a lease. So this story gets way more interesting. I'm going to do maybe like a 5-part series or something, a 3 to 5 part series on just what my life has been like lately and how I'm transitioning right now to really take a different approach to who I've been for the past 2 years since I came back from Barcelona, and what I'm, how I'm approaching life these next 6 months left in 2021. So I signed I put an application in for the lease, and I get approved for the place. And I come in the next day to put down a deposit. Oh yeah, and something that's missing, while I was there and I put in an application, I left. So they told me what apartment unit I would be in. So once I had completed the application, something told me to go check the apartment number to see if I can look inside, to see if I can see what it looks like without necessarily having to ask them to show it to me, because they obviously didn't want to show me what it would look like on the inside until they were done I don't even want to say remodeling it, because that's not what they did, until they were done and painting over the walls and I guess re-laminating the floor, because that's pretty much all they did. So after I finished my application that day, like I said, something told me to go up to the floor that my unit was on and see if I could see what this place looks like. So I go up these stairs. So I get to my unit and the door is cracked open. So I push the door just a little bit further open to look inside to see what the unit looked like and why they didn't want to show me the unit to begin with. So I look inside and it was the most disgusting and the ugliest place of all the places I've ever rented or lived at. I was not happy with the standard of the apartment. I'm not very picky. I'm not a very, I don't know the word for it. I'm not a very, like, I like quality, I like things to be quality and I do have a certain standard, but I'm not someone who is, can't think of a word. I'm not someone who is like abrasive when it comes to where they're living. I just want it to be clean. I just want it to be safe. I just want it to be somewhat up to date with their plumbing and their structural design. And when I looked inside, there was someone's old bed and their sheets were like left, and the floor was brown and the walls, they were this weird brown color, and it smelled really bad in there. So I'm someone who's very sensitive to scents, and it smelled like someone just constantly smoked in there. And like, the scent of cigarette smoke after it's been there for years. And that's kind of what this place smelled like. So I had my reservations with signing a lease there. So I went back to the leasing office and I'm like, look, you guys, I can't live here. This place is disgusting. Like, there's this bed that's still in there, and it looks like someone is still living in there. There was a cigarette, there was like an ashtray with cigarette butts that were left behind, and it smelled disgusting and it just didn't look livable. And I'm telling them this, and he's like, oh, no, don't worry, everything's going to be better, or everything's going to look better. They're going to paint, the walls, and they're going to fix the floor, and they're going to, take care of things. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay, I really didn't have a choice. So I said, okay, I'll see it when I come to sign the lease. So, about a week goes by. I want to say it was a week, maybe like it wasn't even a week. It was like 4 to 5 days go by, and it's time for me to move all my stuff in. And I go to the place, I sign the lease, which is it was a huge mistake for me to have signed this lease, because this lease was ridiculous. There were things in the lease that I didn't pay attention to and that I should have paid attention to before signing it. But literally being under the circumstances that I was under. There was no way for me to take time to read through the lease and to find something else, and then to start a new search and find something else, and not overstay my welcome at where I was living previously, and be able to find a better place all within a 2-day turnaround, or not even, more like a 1-day turnaround, because I was moving out on the 31st of July, and I signed my lease on the 31st of July. So I signed the lease, I go see the place, and to be honest, like, it looked a lot more better. The place looked a lot better. The walls were painted white. The floor was I don't know if it was redone, but I think it was cleaned. And, like, the apartment wasn't very up to date. And now I'm thinking the apartment wasn't even up to code because of what happened to me. So I've been just going through a lot in my life because of this situation. So I move in, and literally, like, I just move all my stuff in. I just place everything on the floor in my studio. And once everything was moved out of my old apartment and everything was in my new apartment, I finally was able to just rest. So mind you, I've never done this before, but I had to carry all of my stuff from one place to another. The first place was just a walk-in entrance. The new place that I had moved to was a 3-floor studio apartment. So I had to move all my stuff up 3 flights of stairs. I want to say it's more than 3 flights of stairs, but just to give you a picture, it was on the 3rd floor. And I moved myself. And I don't have a ton of stuff, but I have quite a bit of stuff because I'm a female and we like things. So I'm moving all my stuff up 3 flights or more of stairs. And guys, I am not the most physically fit person. I look it, but I don't have the stamina like a normal healthy person does. Yeah, another story for a different day. So I'm moving all my stuff. I get it into my new apartment and I am exhausted. I don't have energy, and I literally like pass out on my bed and I just sleep. And I don't have the energy to cook. I don't have the energy to set up my apartment. I just need to sleep so that I can get my energy back. And so the next day comes and I have some errands to run. I have to, give back the moving van that I rented. I have to go clean up the old place that I was living at. And I needed to meet with the landlord, get my deposit back, and go grocery shopping. So I do all of these things, give back the keys, go grocery shopping, head back to my new place. And I put my groceries away. And then I'm like, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna head out and go to this restaurant that's like a few blocks or a block away from my apartment complex. Guys, the place that I chose to live was not the best situation. The area is not very, um, it's not the best location to live in Phoenix. And for me, I've never really lived in neighborhoods where the vibe and the energy was very, know the word for it, just it lacked care. Yeah. And that's something that stuck out to me um, while I was, going through the process of signing my lease or looking at the apartment complex and the unit. And I didn't really see it for all that it was. Like, even the apartment complex and their property, they didn't take care of it. Like, there was trash left wherever. There was like stains on the cement, and there was just a lack of care of the property. And it seemed like they didn't vet and I don't know if you can really do this, but I just feel like they didn't really vet out the people that they were renting to. And I have experience with the few 2 weeks that I lived here. So of why I'm saying that. So back to the next day of having lived in this apartment for less than a month. So I'm like, I'm hungry, I just did grocery shopping and I don't have the energy to cook. So I decided to walk a block down the street from my apartment to go to buy something to eat. And so I bought this food that did not sit well with me. It really made me sick. It made me sick to the point where I ate it, and literally the next day I was sick. And I was literally homebound because I could not leave the house unless I knew my body wasn't going to react to anything that I ate or anything that I put in it. That's the only way that I could leave, is if I did not put anything into my body. So as you know, I'm pescatarian. So I had this seafood dish, and what happened was that it made me so sick that I was constantly on the toilet. I could not go a few hours without running to the toilet because I just couldn't keep anything inside of me. So now I have like this gut issue off of something that I ate the day after moving into my apartment. And I need to figure out a way to help mend my body back to a baseline state that I'm used to. So the only way that I was able to get out of my place was to Uber myself to my local grocer, which was also not too far from me, which was 2 blocks down. Luckily, my grocer, my local grocer, it was an all natural grocery store. So what I do for myself is that I try to naturally medicate my body whenever I'm going through something. I just like to use herbs, and I like to use vitamins, and I like to use anything that's natural and organic to help supplement whatever it is my body's going through. So I went to this place called Nature's Grocer, and I was able to get some different items to support my gut health and to support my system back to a normal state. So I had to like buy some items like coconut water to help with my stomach, applesauce to be able to eat. Like I wasn't eating food, so I was buying applesauce to eat to help my body kind of rebalance itself. I had literally a few weeks before I moved into, I think it was a few days or a week or two before I moved into this unit, I had rice cakes. I bought rice cakes. So rice cakes, banana, applesauce, all of that stuff helps your stomach when you're going through a bout of diarrhea, which is what I was experiencing, but this was for 2 weeks. So this lasted 2 weeks. And so once I had these items, I would just, along with vitamins and supplements, I would take these vitamins and supplements along with the food I was eating at the time to sustain my body. And it's so funny because the day that, okay, so I think a few days passed and I decided to do a meditation because I had lost my job and I needed to find work. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Toro, you need to get on the computer and you need to find a new job. Mind you, I didn't feel well and I felt led to just meditate on what the next step was for me. And let me backtrack. I think I meditated on what the next step was for me that morning, the morning that I needed to go run errands and the morning that I needed to just put food into my body without exerting myself to cook. And so what I received during my meditation was that I needed to pick up my belongings from the floor and organize my apartment or organize my space. So I thought that I would receive guidance to start looking for work because at this time I just signed a lease for I just signed a lease for an apartment that was 2 to 3 times more expensive from an apartment that I just came from. And the only reason why I signed this lease was because at the time I had a job that could more than afford this new apartment. And then the day that I received my keys is also the day that I got fired from this job. So I didn't have time to be upset. I didn't have time to figure out what I was going to do, because the day that I got these keys was the next day of my move-in. The next day, I spent all day moving out of one apartment and into another apartment. And then the next day, I had no energy, and I know that I don't have a job, and I need to figure out how I'm going to get more income to support myself, or how I'm going to replace the income I had to support myself in this new apartment that costs 2 to 3 times more than the old one I was living at. And so instead of trying to get myself into action and start looking for jobs and start, trying to replace income that I lost, I needed to rest. I needed to take care of my body. I needed to be there for myself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And so what I do when I'm this overwhelmed is that I meditated, and my mind was focused on finding a job. And that is what I thought I would receive when I went into meditation. That is the guidance that I thought I would receive from God when I went into meditation. So for some of you who don't know, I am a very spiritual person, and I am able to connect with God in a more deeper, more effortless, more insightful way than just going to church and just reading the Bible. And I'm really led by the Holy Spirit, and I'm really led by the presence of God in my life. And my intuition told me to rest and just meditate and seek the guidance and the voice of God. So there's a specific way that God speaks to me whenever I go into meditation. I tend to hear a word or a phrase, or I tend to receive a feeling about an issue or a question that I might have. And knowing where I was at, so you guys knowing where I was at, which was that I was stressed out, I was tired, I was overwhelmed, and I was going through quite a bit of things, losing a job, moving, having to pay more rent than what I had come from, and with little savings. I just didn't know what to do. I knew where to turn to, and where to turn to was to God, and my spiritual guide, or guides. And so when I went into meditation, I didn't receive start looking for work. I received pick up your belongings and organize your space. That was the first action step I was guided to for my life at that time. And I'm going to stop here because this is where it gets even more interesting. And I wanted to share this with you because I want you to learn from my life, learn from my experiences, learn from my journey, in order to build your connection and your spiritual relationship with the God that you serve, in order to help you in your life, and in order to help you create the life it is that you desire for yourself. And it can only come through the most deepest and the most connected relationship you can have, not only with yourself, but also with your intuition, and also with God, or spirit, or whatever it is that you connect with, that speaks to you, through your inner being. So this is where I will continue with part 2 of what happened and of where I am right now, and just this new chapter that I'm being presented with. It's not even a chapter that I chose, but it's a chapter that I gladly take on for my life as the person that I am. So thank you for being here and listening to this story time. So yeah, I will see you in the next video.